Is that it? We are live. Happy Friday. Sorry, it's a little smoky in here. I got a little having a little refreshment and got a little what they call track hack going on. Track hack, if you've ever run outdoor or winter track in the Northeast, you know what I'm talking about. If you go out for a run in the winter, it leaves you susceptible to coughing for a little while after you get back in. I just did a crisp 18. Drove down the shore to do it. It was quite an afternoon. My dogs are barking. Let me just check the audio here while you enjoy the poster over my shoulder there. Make sure. Let me just check the audio. There it is. So I literally just walked in the apartment, had enough time to do a club soda and an episode of The Office while I kind of got off my feet for a few, and then had to jump in here. So I'm looking forward to tearing into. I have a pack of 3 New York strip steaks for after the show, but we'll get to that in about an hour. First, we have some live streaming to do. So reminder: Twitter at Mike Montone, Instagram at Gary_Moyler, Moyler. And of course, on YouTube at Mike's Golden Streams, or you can just search for Sacktap Live. Mike Montone should come up. And if you like what you're seeing here, please tell your friends, share it on whatever social media platforms you prefer. I've become a big Redditor lately. I don't post anything, but I do enjoy looking at. There's just I've said it a bunch of times. I'm going to sound like a broken record. There are a lot of women posting naked pictures of themselves on Reddit, which I think is pretty good. I like to look at pictures of naked chicks. Who doesn't, right? I think even chicks like to look at pictures of naked chicks. I just realized I did completely forget to post last week's audio of the audio of last week's episode. So I actually have it right here. I will knock it out right now. Apologies to you audio heads. I'm a very busy boy these days. I'm training for a marathon and I'm certifying in as a bodybuilding coach. So it has been a fucking busy winter, along with my my 2 jobs and everything. So it's been bear with me, folks. Anyway, what is on the docket for today? Speaking of Reddit, and there are things that I look at on Reddit other than pictures of bored housewives from flyover countries spreading their buttholes for the camera, which, I'm not going to tell you that's not one of my favorite things. But there's been this meme that's been getting passed around about like, what restaurant is this in your town? And it's like it's a little dated, and people have been pointing that out. It's very early 2010s, but it's like, a fucking $20 hamburger that you have to pay $5 for fries, and everything comes in some sort of metal container, and you sit on metal stools, and it's very minimalist decor. And this was. It's not like it's not this great fucking meme or whatever, but it's one of those things that's kind of evocative enough of an era that it makes you start thinking about the era. And I recently heard a parody song of one of those, like, I guess like, Mumford and Son, Arcade Fire, all of those. There was this very sort of aspirational, shitty, commercially hipster white person pop, and it was very upbeat, and it had a little tempo to it, and and usually these choruses where everybody was singing, and the themes tended to just be about like, grown-ups, people in their 20s and 30s going to bars and drinking gin, whiskey, and craft beers, and growing out their beards and having these intense romantic relationships. And it reminds me of one of those things, sort of the groups of people that I hate the most is the people who moved to New York City and they think they're going to, that doing so it's all going to be this magical experience, and it's going to be like something out of a movie or one of those music videos. It's like, all like the white people stomping and clapping songs where they're all like, hey, and like it's shit like that. And it just got me thinking about that era in general, because it was right before the shitstorm just fucking unleashed. Like, it was after, I don't think, ultimately, I don't think anyone took Occupy Wall Street very seriously. Like, I think it was more of just this novelty, this amusement, because from 2001 to 2011, we were it was like we were very hyper focused on, we were fighting a couple of wars. Everything was after the terror attack. They were constantly announcing changes in the terror alert level, and that would be the big thing. Like, if you'd be going into New York City, you'd check the terror alert level before you did that, and then eventually that's faded. I don't even know if they still do a terror alert level, but it used to be like, it's like, oh, it's orange. Be careful if you're going into the city. I remember one night it was orange, and like me and my buddy were driving in with our girlfriends, and they were freaking out. Like, we shouldn't be here. Tough tits. Want to walk around the village and look in the windows at sex stores and look at dildos. But it was it was this time when I remember everybody was just kind of partying and getting fucked up. Like, Molly was popular. The Molly was in its run. No one really gave a shit about politics. I didn't know anyone's politics. It was like 2014, I want to say, when all of like the woke stuff really started to hit. Like I always pin it on that chick at the professor at Mizzou, she was trying to get people to beat up a photographer. But I was just thinking back to that era of my life, and that's just over 10, so 12 years ago. So I was in my mid-20s, just fucking cranked out of my mind on either cocaine or fucking Adderall. Anytime I went out to do any kind of partying, I was just fucking ratcheted up. In retrospect, it's because I couldn't find a way to make civilian life match the intensity of the Marine Corps or some shit like that. But it was just it just feels like it, in looking back, and leading up to, I would say, the death of Harambe is when the dam finally burst. Like, by 2013, 2014, things were like building up. Shit was getting weird. You were hearing about like trigger warnings and all of this new shit that you didn't know about. You're like, what the fuck? What the fuck? A micro what? Like, it was just, things were getting very, very strange. And then all of a sudden, a gorilla was murdered in cold blood, and the internet went fucking crazy, and nothing has been the same since. And that meme sort of brought that all to mind. And as I approach my 40th birthday here in a few months, obviously, the aging process, and I think back through the eras of my life, and I had some good times. I wouldn't tell you to go out and do any of the drugs that I did, or behave in the manner that I did for that stretch from I would say about 2011 to well, I mean, I was drinking like a fucking just a bottomless fucking pit from college through the Marine Corps. And then we started adding, other than like a little experimental stimulant use in college, didn't really add the stimulants to the mix until I got off active duty. And then that was a good, that stretch lasted until I'd say about 2018 or so, 2017, 2018. It does become unsustainable. You just can't do it anymore. Like, it's just, I don't know how people still do it. I was at a 40th birthday party last month, like a month ago this weekend, and there were people in their 40s putting shit up their noses, and I was just fucking blown away. Like, I don't want to deal with the good time that creates at this point is not worth dealing with the next day, or the fentanyl that the Chinese and the Mexicans are pumping it full of. But that's a different story. Anyway, howdy to my friends in the comments section. Nighttime Conqueror, Pat Bateman, Carl Stone, Wayward Native, Thagano, T206, Garfield. Wow. What years were you kicking around Garfield? Very curious. I grew up in Glen Rock, so I'm right down my grandparents lived in Fairlawn, right down River Road. Got some family back in Elmwood Park, actually. Kenny Fresh, good to see you. Graduated in 06. All right, so you're a couple years younger than me. We used to play Garfield when Miles Austin was in high school. He was very, very talented athlete even back then. Very good. You had Professor Montone for public speaking, I believe, was his forte at Felician. Good shit. Good to have you here in the comments section. Welcome. There was further online discourse. Apparently, there's been a massive to-do over guys wearing jeans with running shoes. I didn't know this was a problem. I didn't know people felt this passionately about it. I do think people kind of, there is a general, I don't know how to describe it, because I go about most of my day in athleisure. And I saw that, and I was like, I saw the picture and I said, jeans with running shoes do kind of look like shit, but you should wear a sneaker with a running with jeans. I do not like guys who wear like dress shoes or anything leathery with a pair of jeans. Infuriates me. When I see that, I want to smack the shit out of guys who do that. Be casual with either get dressed up or be casual. Oh yeah. Little ShopRite brand bowl and basket seltzer going here. I just finished my vintage lemon lime. But yeah, I saw it. I saw the picture, and people were arguing very, very aggressively about it. And some chick with big tits was going off about how men should never wear running shoes with jeans, and people were commenting about what they wear, and they would never wear running shoes with jeans. And I mean, I'd rather see a guy with a New Balance and a pair of jeans than a guy who's wearing fucking dress shoes with a pair of jeans. It just looks out of place. It looks like something that you would wear back in the early 2000s, like the early aughts. Like guys would throw on a button-down shirt with a pair of jeans, and maybe there were like these studded belts that were very popular back then for some reason, like spiked and studded belts. And then guys would do like jeans with like a pair of black dress shoes or something. And it didn't look right then. It doesn't look right now. Don't do it. It looks fucking stupid. They're fine. If you're walking around, if it's a Saturday afternoon, you're going to Home Depot, or you're going out to the bagel shop, jeans and running shoes, I think, are fine. The pictures, people have used like extreme pictures where it's just guys dressed poorly to kind of try to defend it. And I think we need to look beyond that and say, well, what is the opposite, right? Jeans and flip-flops, I don't like. They tried to make that a thing a while back. That was big when I was working at Abercrombie and Fitch. You could wear flip-flops with jeans in this. You had to wear the company's jeans. They wouldn't let you wear shorts because they were trying to really. It was when like that ripped, distressed denim was becoming very popular. So they were really trying to push these very beat up looking jeans, but you were allowed to wear sandals with them. Anyway, speaking of commerce, I did, and this is before we get into the news stories for the day here. I did, on my way into work, witness a possible manslaughter in the making. There's a Hudson News at the Port Authority right before you hit the sidewalk, and these places are like built to steal from. Like if you've ever been to the airport, you've seen one. Like these big, porous, open faces, and a lot of times it goes one way and then it's perpendicular to another. So if you want to get in and get out, like it's very, very hard to keep anyone in. And I guess some vagrant stole like a neck pillow or something like that, and he was running away. And you could hear the Indian guy who runs the place was shouting, and then this guy stops to turn around and say, "I didn't steal nothing," and that's when this young Asian dude just wraps him up, and the guy was like, they were tussling, and the guy was trying to get away, and I was thinking, like, I kind of stopped to watch for a second. I was like, this is one of those things I should intervene in. Like, I feel like, this is New York. They've already put a guy on trial once for accidentally killing a guy who was threatening an entire train. Like, this guy just took a neck pillow, and it looks like he's wrapped up, and the Port Authority police should be responding to this momentarily. So I just went about my way. But it is never ceases to amaze me how much like conflict you see on a daily basis if you commute into New York City. Like it's not a natural thing that you should see every day is vagrants causing a fucking ruckus. Nighttime Conqueror, I am happy to see the Jenko go away. I was, of course, a Jenko guy, but it was just the back of those things when those fucking jeans during the baggy jean era started to get wet and it would creep up. You couldn't stop it. You would just be walking around with this soaking wet like triangle on the back of your jeans, and it sucked. And I hated it. It was the most miserably uncomfortable thing. I am so glad that's gone. I like a nice. I don't like a super tight, like a fucking, like you see the rap guys now where it's so tight that they can't even get it up over their ass, so they wear they wear it so low that the crotch of the jeans is like down by the fucking it's down by their kneecaps. I don't like those, but a reasonably tapered jean is good. Cowser 3XL. Were you trying to be a hood rat? Was this an attempt to be ghetto? Mike Cannon was just talking about that on his new podcast. I was enjoying it. It's very Beautiful Boys, I think it's called. If you haven't, don't leave this show to go check it out. But he has it's very funny. He was talking about his ghetto phase when he was in college, and I was enjoying that thoroughly. Yeah, no, I've never been a fan of overly baggy clothing. But anyway, a few things to get to now that we're 20 minutes in here. Jesus Christ, really wasting a lot of time just dawdling and meandering through the episode. So this Mary-Kate drama that unfolded overnight the other day is, I mean, it's come to its predictable ending, right? Like, when I first saw it, I guess it was Tuesday night. I got online and I was looking for, newsworthy items to submit for work. And I see this Mary-Kate thing everywhere, but I couldn't get a good beat on what it was. Like, I just heard that some chick had allegedly banged her boyfriend's dad, and this is they said it was coming from SEC burner Twitter. So when I saw that, my assumption was that it was something sports related, because I don't think of the SEC outside of sports, but I guess there is probably, those Southern schools probably cater to a lot of people who grew up down around the area. There's overlap, there's social groups, who knows this person in this sorority at this place and stuff. So there is, as there is in college, there is sort of a greater social world where things flow in between schools. And these screenshots start showing up. And again, it's just saying things like, she went to her boyfriend's sister's basketball game because she finished finals first, and then went home with the dad, and first he tried to do it and she wouldn't let him, and then he persisted for apparently, and all of this stuff. And the first time I see it, it's just like shit posting fucking accounts, and then it's starting to grow. And now this chick she's flipping out on everybody. She's going after Barstool. She's going after Pat McAfee. It turns out that this wasn't, like, I thought if this was the starting quarterback for Alabama or Ole Miss or wherever, and he was dating an Instagram model with a huge following, and there was a rumor that she had sex with his father, it would at least be kind of noteworthy, and it would be worth our time to discuss. This apparently just involved what we would call civilians, just normal college kids living their lives. She's a cute blonde chick. Fucking certainly more attractive than what most guys will get to bang with any sort of regularity. So obviously that attracts. And it's I think there's something, and I don't know if it's because of porn, how everyone's watching these videos now where someone is either banging a step relative, or their boyfriend's mother, or their fucking the whoever. Like, there's a lot of porn has drifted into this space where a lot of it appears to be taking place within the extended family, or within the home, within a very close social group. Like, there was a time when the people doing the banging in adult films were either they were just guys driving around in a van with a clever name, and they would bang you right in the van, and you were strangers, you would go your separate ways, or it was a flight attendant who was just in town for the night, or some sort of delivery driver, some blue collar worker who was there to work on the house. It wasn't, we weren't keeping it that close to home that you were, banging a stepmother or whatever. And now we have uh sort of we hear dad bangs son's girlfriend, and everyone gets just out of control excited without even thinking, should we as adults be out sharing these pictures, pushing these pictures all up, publishing them, um and saying, hey, this is what's going on, allegedly, slipping the allegedly in there just to cover ourselves as we gleefully discuss this. And I mean, it's a juicy rumor, so you get it. And there's a sexiness to the Southern University. We see the sorority pledge videos, and you watch a college football game between a couple of SEC schools, and you've got the cheerleaders and the co-eds, and everyone's drunk in the stands, and you're like, oh yeah, of course, something like this could happen there. There's an aggressive sexual energy to this place, and there's a little bit of it's pent up a little bit because it's the South, and there's that old Christian tradition, and people get married and committed for life very early, and they have these big families, and it's all set against the backdrop of those big, plantation style homes, and all of the moss. Like, we love a scandal involving wealthy Southerners. Remember the Murdochs, and that whole thing. It's a good time. It makes you tingle a little bit, and in getting tingly over it, we forget that these are just a bunch of 22-year-old kids and a private family, and that there was really, they're kind of right. There was no reason for anyone to be covering this, but everybody did. And again, I mean, the first thing I did when I woke up on Wednesday, my first bit of phone time, was to find out, hey, is anyone explaining what's going on with Mary Kate? Because I really want to know who banged whose girlfriend. Um, and there were explainer videos, and that's how I learned about it. And now here we are. Mary Kate and her family and her boyfriend, and they are all understandably kind of pissed. What a 72 hours it has been. Um, SEC girls are families are yeah. I mean, the South in general. I was stationed at Camp Lejeune, and we used to go out. We'd go out around East Carolina, and we would go out down. We'd go to Myrtle Beach, and we would go where Wilmington, North Carolina, were like our three big spots when I was at Lejeune. And I was there during the summer, and I was there at the beginning of college football season, and it is is a fucking the only place in the country that I've seen party like that, like the equivalent would be like peak Jersey Shore. It's basically they basically party like it's the Jersey Shore, except everyone's blonde. They have a drawl, and there's an air of sexiness and an air of racism. It just brewing, just this sort of fog of sexiness and racism. But yeah, the chicks there are very, very aggressive. You can, I mean, if you are just a normal looking dude and you go out with your friends and you're reasonably sociable with the women there, like you'll go home with one every night. Like they have this level of aggressive freak that it's I don't know where it comes from. Again, I think it's that sort of it's almost like they're on before they get married. They know they're on like Rumspringa. Like they know what's coming. It's hot. It's muggy down there. You know, they're all hot and blonde. Some of them have nice tits. Fucking, and they know that they're eventually going to be expected to just spit out a bunch of kids. So they want to get theirs as much as possible before that happens. Like that is the energy if you go party in the American coastal South, let's say, and I would extend that all the way into the Gulf of America states. Good time. And you'll run into a lot of these types if you go to the Caribbean too. They love the fucking Caribbean. You go to a Senior Frogs in like Cancun or Jamaica or something like that, be crawling with these broads. But there's an air of danger to it. Like you meet one of them who's like 45 and married at a Carlos and Charlie's somewhere somewhere in Cozumel, and there is this energy to it, like, oh yeah, my husband's a wealthy Southern gentleman. He has an entire wing of the house dedicated to firearms, and he's very jealous and protective of what he views as his traditional family. So if he finds out that you plowed me in a bedroom at the Four Seasons while I was on a girls trip, he's going to be quite upset and might come looking for you. But anyway, no, Cowster, I have never done Nas at a house party. I have stood in the fucking refrigerator, inhaling whipped cream and alternating between whipped cream and whippets, but I've never done Nas at a house party. Thank you very much, Cowster. So we have plenty of sex scandals to discuss. The Epstein, I guess the latest list is out, and people are apparently very disappointed by what was contained in there. They handed it out. I love how the Justice Department, by the way, decided that the way to release the Epstein list, it wasn't like to put, do like a data, dump via one of their social media feeds, or, put the PDFs online and make them available somewhere, release them to, whoever, Fox News or whatever outlet. They just decided to give little packages to right-wing social media influencers. So that's who it was left to break the news. And I guess there was more than 100 pages. They're all walking out of as this I don't know if it's the White House or the Capitol, one of those buildings. I think it's the White House, and they all have these shit-eating grins on their faces, and they're holding it up. One guy's in a 3-piece suit. He looks like the conductor on the fucking Polar Express. So what's it say here? The files were apparently uh, long available in the public record. Flight logs and boldface names were known from prior disclosures. Hours later, Pam Bondi released the documents publicly. I love that they did it. They released them to the influencers first, like it's a fucking like some sort of merch drop. So all of the influencers could go and stream it first, and that would build a little excitement. They're doing they're doing a fucking junket. Um, so who's in there? Michael Jackson, Prince Andrew, Mick Jagger, Ethel Kennedy. Uh, wasn't that in Seinfeld? Isn't that who Mr. Pitt was playing tennis against? He needed to borrow he needed his brew line. He had a several $100 racket that he needed to beat Ethel Kennedy. Alec Baldwin, Andrew Cuomo. Of course, Cuomo. Cuomo. We now know that Cuomo likes to have a good time. They're talking about replacing Eric Adams. If it's got to be anyone, make it old fucking nipples Cuomo. But yeah, this was just the black book that was first published in 2021, and then another document, 254 names, completely redacted, no client list. But they are saying it's just phase one. And Bondi says that more details will be coming. Apparently, so I guess Bondi wrote a letter to Kash Patel. He's the new FBI director. And she says that she's been told that the FBI field office in New York has thousands of pages. So we shall see. We shall see. Yeah, I don't know. We got to wait a little bit longer, I guess. I mean, I don't know how much is going to come out. Like it just feels like it's going to be just a tease. Obviously, something was going on down there, right? Rich people hang out with other rich people. Someone was fucking kids. We do deserve to know who. If there is evidence that suggests that people in the public eye have been going down to fuck kids on an island somewhere, we should know. So we continue to wait with bated breath. Yeah, Mark Revia, big letdown. I want to know. Who it really was. I don't know. The guys like Epstein, I think they're like Nixon, where they have something, he's a room full of security footage or something like that. Like those guys, you would not be bringing people like that to an island to fuck kids with you if you weren't going to try to leverage it in some way. So somewhere there has to be unless it's been destroyed, of course, some kind of damning evidence. Not San Miguel. The Trump and Zelensky thing. I actually heard it. I was driving back up from the shore after my run this afternoon, and they were talking about it on 1010 Wins. And they were playing the audio, And I was like, I was chuckling, um, listening to the listening to the audio. I was like, this sounds very funny. Truly haven't paid a whole lot of attention to what is going on over in the Ukraine. I get to this point with a lot of political things where every time something happens, whether it's Ukraine or tariffs or, whatever, it's everyone instantly becomes an expert and hey, this is no, this is how it's got to be. No, this is going to be the worst thing. No, this, and it's like, I don't know. I'm not qualified to really, have too much of an opinion on what we should do in Ukraine or with tariffs or any of this other shit. So I try to stay in my lane. But I did find it very entertaining. I will say that. I do love a little bit of shenanigans and tomfoolery. Mark Revia, Americans can hope in one hand and shit in the other. Tell me which hand fills up first. I got a feeling it's going to be the one with the brown duty in it, Mark. Anyway, that's why we distract ourselves with sports ball. It's like going to the Coliseum. That's one of my favorite things is people who get mad about people watching sports because they think sports are a distraction and they call it sports ball. Like, it can't just be that we enjoy sports. It has to be because the government is running a massive grift on us, and we won't pay attention if we're busy thinking about, the NBA on TNT. Yes, one of my favorite things. These are a few of my favorite. Alrighty. So apparently, the more weird sex stuff. Tulsi Gabbard says she's firing more than 100 Intel employees who took part in obscene sex chat rooms. And I guess they did it on a government messaging platform. Which is a wild fucking move. I don't know how you work in intelligence and you're having sex chats via the company Slack or whatever the fuck they use. Like, you're in Intel. Your job is to watch people. And you haven't assumed that you're being watched at all times. Like, under what circumstances would you think that it's a good idea to have a nice kinky chat on a government Slack channel? I mean, I love it. It's awesome. They were brazen. This is Tulsi says, when you see what these people were saying, they were brazen in using an NSA platform intended for professional use to conduct this kind of really, really horrific behavior. Do they mention the specifics? Let's see. The chat logs first reported in City Journal by Rufo, a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute, showed LGBTQ employees discussing polyamory, pronoun usage, sex lives, and gender transition procedures. Getting my butthole zapped by a laser was shocking, said one employee. Medical science is going to give me tits one way or another, added a second employee. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's certainly not. I mean, I don't find that to be particularly randy, but also weird. A weird thing to be discussing again, if you're an intelligence employee, right? You're a fucking you have to know that just using flippant language about your anus is going to set off some red flags. It's this is an interesting look into the human psyche. I think you get so comfortable with your laptop. I think that's also how people get busted, like watching porn on a work computer or something like that. Like you get comfortable with it being your laptop, and you're like, well, if I go to Amazon once and I'm connected to my home Wi-Fi, they won't. And then the next thing you know, you're fucking you're making sure your Zoom is all closed out so you can just fucking pump one out. But oh no, I use the incognito window, so they won't see that I went to xvideos and looked up fucking horny strap-on milfs. We have time for the Zizian group. Um, I was about to. I was gonna answer the question that Prelude guy had about Letterkenny. I don't know what Letterkenny is, um, but I accidentally clicked on King Buzzo's comment instead, who had a boss who used to flare out his brown eye at work. What do you mean by flare out his brown eye? Like he would affix pieces of flare to it, like he would bedazzle it, like with those little things, or like flare it out like he would spread it. And I don't I don't know what flare out means, but it's an interesting oh yeah, okay. He would spread his cheeks and try to make you look at it. Uh what did you work at a shenanigans restaurant? Were you guys showing each other various body parts? What were the I'm very curious about the work circumstances under which this yeah, that's Caddy. That's what I was alluding to. Oh, construction. Okay, perfect. Yes. I remember in the early 2000s, um there was a house down the street from my parents' shore house, and they were having construction done, and they had these porta johns that were just sitting out unlocked. And I was my buddy and I were walking by one day, and his parents lived on the next block over. He's like, "Yo, dude, I've walked by this porta john a few times, and I had to take a piss, so I used it. And then when I was inside, like they had fucking porn taped up all over the place. So we went, opened the door, and sure enough, there were all these pictures of naked chicks taped to the inside of this porta john. So obviously we helped ourselves. We just fucking ripped them down. So no, I do not for a minute doubt that on a construction site someone was fucking making subordinate employees look at his asshole. That does not come as a huge shock. We had a few minutes before I wrap up, so I did want to take a look at very quickly this Zizian cult. There's apparently a vegan transgender cult that's been going around killing people for I'm not sure what reason. They arrested one of the guys in Maryland, um, and it's a largely transgender vegan group. So I guess they haven't they don't discriminate against. I guess you can be cis or eat meat and join. Um, one of the guys tried to fake his own death, but they arrested these Daniel Blank, Michelle Zacco, 26 and 32. They murdered a double murder of her parents. They were both shot in their heads at their home on New Year's Eve 2022, which is so. I mean, it's that's just such a subhuman thing to do. Um, like to go. First of all, it's the holidays. I mean, if you're going to shoot your parents, wait until February at least. I mean, I wouldn't suggest doing it at all. But I guess this was in Chester Heights, Pennsylvania. They did it. Shot the. It's just that's just such a chilling scene because a daughter is somewhat like you wonder when that happens. Did they try like legitimately try their best when raising their daughter, or were they kind of neglectful and she hated them for a reason or what? But someone who you're supposed to have this level of trust and safety with all of a sudden fucking blows your head off on New Year's Eve. That is just a horrible way to go. They look like just like a couple of nice old people. So I think these, if I had to guess, I would say that maybe the members of the murderous transgender vegan cult, maybe something is wrong with them, and that's why they killed that girl's parents. Jack Lasoda, aka Z's, prefers female pronouns, but was booked by police as a male. He's got kind of a long-haired Dwight Schrute thing going on. Police say members of the Zizian group could number as high as 30, and they appear to be mainly young trans women who are math and computer whizzes who previously worked at NASA, Google, and on Wall Street. They gather around Ziz, who was born a male but now identifies as female and grew up in Alaska before moving to the Bay Area. There, this is the New York Post, he gathered acolytes who believed in the same eccentric arcane blend of Silicon Valley-driven rationalist movement theories and animal rights. So somehow this group of high-achieving trans computer nerds got together and they've been going around murdering people for who the fuck knows why, because investigators and people who know the Zizians told the Post many of them have been estranged from their parents and some are thought to be on the autism spectrum, that they're an anti-sex group who take hormones for their gender transitions. Yeah, it definitely does reek of a certain degree of the tism. I mean, and in that sense, what are they doing these murders because like someone interrupted them while they were counting the cars on a train while it passed by? Like, what? This is just, they're involved in esoteric. This feels so stupid as to be made up. Like, it's almost like, hey, what if we just wrote an article about a bunch of weird shit and used fake pictures of fake people? Like, you could just as easily convince me that something like that is real as this article about the Zizians who are involved in esoteric practices like unhemispheric sleep, a practice not dissimilar to hypnosis, where adherents are told to sleep with one eye open in a state of chronic exhaustion. I don't even know how you do that. That's not a real thing. you always hear these stories about, oh yeah, he was special forces, he could sleep with his eyes open, and I'm like, I don't know that you can actually do that. I think that's an extreme exaggeration. Um, but I'm looking at it, and I'm going to be honest. These people, the leader is 34, Jack Lasota. He's the one who faked his own death. And then there's Maximilian Bentley Snyder, who looks a little bit like Horatio Sands. He's 22. He was charged with the murder of Curtis Lind. He was planning to marry Teresa Milo Youngblood, 21, uh, but she allegedly killed this guy, David Malland. And then there's this other chick who killed her parents. Then we have a German, Ophelia Felix Bauchalt. She's a German citizen, transgender math genius, but unfortunately and very sadly was killed during a shootout with border agents. Um, Somni Alexander Latham, transgender, currently incarcerated on multiple felonies. And Emma Amir Borhanian, transgender, killed while attacking Curtis Lind. So I guess Emma was working with Maximilian Bentley Snyder. Yeah, they're just all these little bits about him in um this story. They talk as if they really have supernatural powers and they believe movies like The Matrix are real and they can manipulate reality, and investigators. That's like the dorky table in high school, which is, that's really what a lot of this stuff boils down to, is the this. And I'm not talking about like the hardcore dorky table where like it's like the Asian kids who go to those extra fucking Kumon classes after school and they're all doing homework and shit. I'm talking about the sort of run of the mill, just fucking white computer nerd. Back when I was growing up, would have been like the AV kids and like the fucking, the kind of kids who really did put a lot of stock into the Matrix, who saw the Matrix twice, and thought it was awesome, and fucking wore. They weren't trench coat mafia trench coat. They were fucking rocking a trench coat because they wanted to be like Neo. But yeah, they I love these little tidbits. They talk about the Nazis and the Holocaust a lot. They've made it very difficult and confusing to catch them. They all have so many aliases. We think of a lot of what's happened can be traced to Ziz. Yeah, so it's just this group that has apparently murdered like half a dozen people across the country, and the only people who seem to be paying attention to it are the New York Post, the editorial staff over there. Um, yeah, this Michelle Zajko, they keep showing pictures of, the one who murdered her parents. I feel very bad for her parents. This is the daughter you raised. She's hanging out with this bunch of fucking dorks, and then she kills you. They're obsessed with this two hemispheres thing. One is good and one is non-good. Um, yeah. 6 or 7 people in the group had committed suicide. Incredible. Has anyone had Curtis Yarvin, King Buzzo. I think Curtis Yarvin is he goes, but what does he call himself? Mencius Molebug or something like that. He just thinks he thinks that democracy is incompatible with freedom. I think that's his Curtis Yarvin's big thing. The kids that would carry fake anime swords. I missed. That was not a thing when I was growing up. Thank God. Monday Morning Mowing with Mike. I mean, yes, it was technically stolen porn from a chemical toilet, but this, you have to understand, Mike, and I'm looking at your avatar, and you have to be of an age where this rings true. Porn was not as available before the internet really blew up the way it is now. Like, yeah, you could still jerk off to porn on the internet, but found porn was still a big deal. And, you know, I think we were probably in 10th or 11th grade. So we were still too young to just go buy. We were, you know, it was going to be another year before we could go buy VHSs or even DVDs or anything like that. But, you know, loose leaf porn that you could just have, it still had some value to it. Next to a boat launch. Someone must have forgotten that. Boat launch porn. Yes, Cowster, jerking off to VHS. It was a good time. I've held on to much of my VHS pornography. I think it's behind. I have an ottoman here between me and the bookshelf, and I can't reach any of the VHS pornography that's down there, but there's quite a bit. I'm looking. I can just make out. What do we got? Backseat Driver. That was an all anal feature, and then I have this. I have this lesbian milfs here. I don't want to show too much. You get fucking booted. But who was in this? Amber Michaels, Nina. I don't think Nina Hartley though. A lot of just one name. It was done by Lesbo Productions. Here's the caption on the back. Is what I'll leave you guys on tonight. Sure, you'd love to fuck him. Any guy would, but red hot and horny mama is not for you, because these lovely moms only like other girls. Too bad, but at least you get to watch the hottest mother-pleasing mother action around. Indeed. And there's yep, right there on the back is a screen grab of a woman penetrating another woman with a strap on. Yes, Kenny Fresh. They are indeed in the oversized boxes. Yes. So for those who don't know, if you never purchased VHS porn before, you would get it would be in an oversized box. You'd unfold the top, you pull it out, and it would sit in this little thin plastic or cardboard vessel, and then you would take it out of there, pop it into the VHS, the VCR. Yes, what a memory. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm quickly running out of what little steam I had to begin the evening. Good to see you all out there in the comments section. Have yourselves a lovely night, a lovely weekend. Should be live again next week. And then I think the following week I have to run 22 miles. So I will probably take that one off. And then later in the month, I do have to do a pre-record, I think, because I have to go to an event on a Friday night. So anyway, good to have you guys here. Have a great weekend. Thank you for joining, and adios, motherfuckers. Share it with your friends, baby.